Welcome back to the channel. If you're joining again, part 2 of this Jensen Healey with the Mazda MX5 engine with a turbo that's blown up. There's the other engine there. We haven't actually unpackaged it yet. Maybe short-sighted of us. Could be like completely wrong. Let's get into it. Mind yourself. And that one. Well, it's looking like an engine. Yeah, looks good. Exactly the same engine, so we're all right there. However, there are a few bits that are a bit different. I mean, this manifold has got some slightly different bits going on with it in comparison to this one, but that might actually aid us, to be fair. We're just going through the cooling system on this thing and checking it over the way it's all piped and working and whatnot in comparison to the other one. And I think we're going to be doing some modifications to the way that it came out of there, because some of the bits seem unnecessary that this person has done. Here's an example. On this engine that came out, we've got this piping going on here, which feeds the turbo, and then there was a separate pipe for that part of the water housing for some reason. Can't think why now. That's your thermostat housing, right? That's gone. Look at the size of that in comparison. Right, this piping is pretty much the same, although they've done away with that piece and put this T in, but we can't work it out. That T, what is the reason that it can't go in between there and run off to feed the turbo? Not too sure why, to be honest. And that thermostat housing thing, I mean, that's a big thing for us. Why was that changed? Right, when there was other options and other ways around it if you wanted to. I mean, even that front part of the thermostat housing, they've recycled it onto the back, which this is really bad. You can't get that water pipe off. It's stuck on the gearbox bell housing, and it's actually started to rub through on the bottom. So if you wanted to change the clutch on this thing, you'd have to drain the whole water system as well. This one, which is the original housing, that sensor, blah, blah, they've actually moved it into a bolt hole. Like on there. So there's a few things here that we're going to sort out, because these pipes, like here, on the original housing, for the heater matrix, they look like they'll fit exactly where the other ones were. Obviously the other one's still on the car at the moment, because it was easier to get it off that way. But these pipes down here, you know, they're all there. So 100% we are not going to do it the same way as that engine that come out. You want to try and keep the factory water system set up as best as possible, really, because they're built that way for a reason. We remembered actually, because we had our mate, the trader who owns this, he had it down here. He reminded us that, yeah, if you left it idling for a while, it used to boil over. We've noticed some other things as well. This blue coolant line under here, which goes to the oil cooler down there, it's kinked round on itself. So that's really restricting the flow of water. And on the back where it goes into the heater matrix, the one that's left on the car was actually kinked round as well. So that wouldn't have been helping the flow. So that's the cooling side of things. We've pretty much got it worked out. Obviously until it's all in there, we won't know any what final adjustments and modifications we need to do, but we've got the rough idea in our heads of how it's still going to be piped up. So that's that sorted. The next thing that we're going to have to work out to sort is the turbocharger side of things. Mainly the oil feed and drain, because they're not very good. Let's have a look. That oil feed there for the top of the turbo goes around a manky old pipe and then goes into there. I mean, we could make that better. I mean, I want to see what kind of pipe it is. I'm not sure if it's an oil rated pipe or not, but that's not the worst. That's not the worst part of it. The worst part is the drain. I mean, yeah. And then it goes under, all the way over here. But then, look. See that? Anyone who knows will know that that is not good. You cannot have the drain going up into the bottom of it. It needs to come in from the side. The oil pressure will have to build up to essentially force it out, because it's working against itself. So that needs to be sorted. Those are some of the issues that we're going to be rectifying along the way. There are others, but we'll get into them as we get to them. Sorting out the fueling, the boost pressure, bits to do with the exhaust. There's loads of bits we're going to be sorting out. But when it leaves here, the engine bay and the bits that have been done are going to be done to the spec that we would expect to see when a conversion like this has been done. So you fancy sticking around to see any of that and the progress? Any of the bits we're going to struggle with and they're going to go wrong along the way, because there will be. Stuff like this is not simple and it never quite goes to plan. Stick around. Let's jump into it. Let's start tearing this other engine down. Also, we've got to get the turbocharger off it, like manifold and stuff off it. We've got to take all that old heat wrap off because it's soaked in oil from a previous oil leak. Check the manifold for cracks, because it did sound a bit blowy before. We're not sure whether it was where the downpipe was or it's the manifold itself. So that's the first step. We'll start tearing that down before we get into anything else. Let's get this drain off to start with. See if there's any oil backed up in there. I mean, there might not be. If you saw part one, when I dropped the sump plug out, there was not a single drop of oil left in this engine. It was all just water. Okay. Nothing in there. Nothing left in there. It all went. Oh, you tight. Anything left in it? I doubt it. No, nothing left in it. Nothing coming out. Put that back on there so we don't lose it. One could be awkward, but look at that wobble head. And there we go. One Saab turbo. Yeah. Okay, so it doesn't look from this side like there's any valve damage so far. Haven't really seen this because the turbo and that's been in the way. Oh, and there. Oh dear. Let's undress, so to speak, all this manky old heat wrap off of here and check what the exhaust actually looks like underneath. This could be covering up loads of bodges, I don't know yet. So let's get into that. I imagine. Interesting. Well, I think I'll get all this taken off and then we'll have a look round it. Yeah. Well, it's interesting, I suppose. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know what whoever did to construct it. There's quite a bit of weld around all these joints, but I can't see any actual evidence of of it blowing, which is quite remarkable. I mean, that there may be a bit suspect, but I can't see any evidence of anything blowing out around the mountain of welding wire that's been used on this thing. Might just weld up over that again before it goes back in the car. Maybe, don't know. It was definitely a blow though, so unless it was blowing out around the manifold gasket, I don't know. The next thing is I want to pull the injectors, the injector rail, because it's got different injectors in it to what the other engine has. Bearing in mind the ECU that it's running, the ME221 ECU that's in there, I think we'd better stick to what this original setup that came out of the car was. We're doing that, and we've worked out a very big factor into why this engine actually blew. This thing here, right? This is a rising rate fuel pressure regulator. For people that know, or for people, they'll know how it works. For people that don't know, it's like basically like it's quite mechanical. It's very basic how it works. What we can do is you will have a vacuum line or a pressure line, sorry, that will go on here. So the manifold builds pressure, and then it puts pressure through here, and it opens up. Basically, like there's a diaphragm spring in there, and it'll open it up the more pressure it's got, which allows more fuel pressure to come through the rail. There wasn't a pipe on this when it was on the car from anywhere. We had one for boost, one for the boost gauge, one for the actual ECU, but nothing going on to this. There was one here that we found tucked up behind the wiring with a old rusty screw in the end of it, which wouldn't have even reached up to there anyway, I don't think. That should have been connected up to a pipe. We've come to that conclusion because that there, basically that's your idle fuel pressure, and it was absolute pig to start. It would, regardless whether it was hot or cold, like it would wind over and over and cough and splutter, and it'd absolutely stink of fuel. So we've worked out that whoever set this up initially when they built it, or someone's played around, we don't know because it's come to us in that form. They've obviously set it as like not a happy medium, but a medium line rate of fuel pressure. So when it was running a little amount of boost, it would fuel enough. It might have been leaning out anyway, to be honest with you. When it was trying to start in idle and there was no boost, it was still just trying to flood the same amount of fuel pressure through the injectors. And that's the conclusion we've come up with. And when it ended up having problems running full gate pressure, obviously it was leaning out because the fuel pressure rate wasn't rising the way it should do. And that's how we think it's just leaned out, got too hot and gone bang. Could be wrong, but we're pretty sure that that's a big factor to do with it. I know it's not supposed to be a turbocharged engine. It's not a built engine. It's not meant for massive power. It's just a little something different, a bit of kick. But I'm pretty sure that because of that not being set up properly, that was a big factor into why the engine let go. Obviously, you would have seen in the background, the injectors and the rail are out. Do a little bit of investigation onto this here, for the factory setup. It's got that on there, but there's no holes in that manifold. I don't know if that manifold's ended up having some work done to it. That's the next thing. I want to get that off of there. I know the other bits, like seals and gaskets and that we're going to have to order. Just trying to get a list together of all the bits that we're going to need to order, like manifold gasket, seals for the injectors now they've been apart and stuff like that. So let's have a quick look at this as well. That's good, isn't it? Bolt nut sizes are not consistent. Yeah, I'm choking, isn't you? That's a 12 there. That end one is a 13 again. Let me see. There we go. Oh, still got one pipe on there. Look. Silly. Wasn't paying attention to that. Oh, and a Jubilee clip that's broken anyway. There we go. One manifold. As I suspected, this is off maybe an earlier car or something, or a later car. There's no EGR setup like this one. Not been filled in or anything. There's a casting mark, so yeah, we're gonna have to go with that manifold. That's what I thought. So that's the list. What seals, gaskets, etc. we're going to need to order. We'll probably have to go main dealer, to be honest. We have to go Mazda, which means we need to find a reg for an engine, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, well that's it. That's basically the breakdown of what we're going to need to do, the bits that we're going to have to change. We know all that now. The next thing, we're going to have to wait for bits to come. So that'll be on the back burner for a bit. Obviously, get the gearbox off of that and a couple of other little bits to go on the new engine, ready for putting it back in. That'll be the end of that subject for this video, because it's gone on long enough again. Honestly, it's quite a bit of time. You know, it takes quite a while to go through all this stuff, and even edit it down. We're going on for like 15 minutes. And to be honest, if you ever look around at the state of the rest of the place, we're having a big sort out. That office, we're going to get the forklift in a minute, and it's going to be pushed back into that corner, and the scaffolding firm next door have kindly offered basically to build sort of a mezzanine platform over the top of the office and some scaffold shelving and ladder to get up there. Get some of this stuff. I mean, look, there's just stuff everywhere. We need to get all this off the floor. Best thing to do, it's the only place we can really fit any more storage in this unit. We've got to get set up ready for the MOT lane. We've got to clear the floor area, and then we've got to do all the yellow sort of yellow markings for like health and safety reasons around the equipment and the dedicated lane, the viewing area and stuff. That's all got to be cleared out and safe. Obviously, we've got to get all our notices and that up, because potentially end of this month. I've been saying it's going. Oh, it might be the end of this month for ages now. Right, it's just, we're nearly there. There's like 3 more steps. Paint the lines. They'll come up and photograph it, and then so that DVSA know the lane actually exists, and then they'll book and give us a time for an inspector to come out and sign it off. You would think that it would probably hopefully only take like 3 weeks, but we'll see. And as always, thanks for tuning in. If you go back through the videos on the channel, you like what you see, you might not, you don't have to, but hit the old subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one.